Alright, just like in the last video, figured I'd give you guys a preview of what's to come. This cooker all built up, but for now, we're kind of starting halfway here. I had little intention or no intention of actually making a video out of this build, but then when I was done with the firebox and I got a little bit of progress done on the main cook chamber, or just the cook chamber I guess in this case, I decided what the hell, I should probably do this up. So here we are. Well, I just got done welding on some 1-inch square tubing little drop pieces you guys have seen me use in the past, just to help lift the firebox off the welding table and get it out of the way so I can start cutting up this 2-inch square tubing for the frame. And it'll be a pretty straightforward frame, similar to other cookers you guys have seen me build. Just miter the corners and get them all straight and 90 degree and start welding them up. And you can see this kind of looks a little bit rusty and nasty because it kind of is. These chunks of metal have been on my floor for quite a while in the garage, but I do clean them up a little bit later. As you'll see, it's not fun working with rusty stuff, but it's still good metal. Alright, the frame's all welded up, so it's time to grind everything smooth. I'm about to start taking down the rust, and you'll see I just stop it in an enclosed area. This is way too much rust. It's crazy, and I just said nope, screw that. So I took it outside and cleaned it up on the sawhorses to keep all that rust outside. But yeah, and this is a package of the 6-inch swivel and locking casters. Well, 2 fixed, 2 swivel. I like using these. They're pretty heavy duty and just kind of, they roll nice and everything. And for this one, I just welded them straight to the frame. Figured I wasn't going to mess around with bolting them just because this is quicker this way. With the frame on the floor, it's time to get the firebox up and onto the frame. And then I'll get it tack welded once it's in place. Which takes just a couple quick seconds. And then, because of me putting the firebox in the frame first, there's a good leverage effect here, where it's actually pretty simple to just lift up on the other end and tilt it over, so that way I can weld the rest of this out pretty easy. Even though I don't think I got too much of it on camera, but I did weld this out fully, and it turned out really good, and I like that. And here we go, just putting it back flat. I have no more use for these lifting lugs, so they gotta go time. So I just cut them out with a grinder and a cut wheel, and then I kind of grind the kind of burrs flat. And then I want to make the top of the firebox, so I'm just cutting out this sheet. I think this is 3/16 inch thick. I can't remember if I went with 1/4 inch or 3/16, but it's one of those two. And then I go ahead and cap the top of the firebox. By the way, if you want to know how to build this firebox, or you want to see how I did it, my last offset video that I published, it's literally the exact same style firebox, just a little bit narrower. It's only 20 inches wide, 24 inches deep, 24 inches tall, as opposed to 24 by 24 by 24. Or maybe I did 24 by 28 by 24 on the last one. Either way, it's simple V-bottom with a nice air gap, and they work really well. So, but now that that thing's in there and the top's all welded on, it's time to get the cook chamber fitted, which I just did. And this thing's a 60-gallon air compressor tank. It's only 1/8 inch thick, so it's really light. So I was able to kind of manhandle that thing on there and get it lined up with the crane, and then attach these C-channel pieces, which are the front legs that keep the cook chamber supported. So that went pretty darn quick. But you'll see while I'm welding a lot of these joints, there's gaps, and the metal's so thin compared to the other metals that I'm using. So I have to do a lot of like stacking of beads and more like pulse or spot welding or stitch welding, because it's just so thin. But you'll blow through the stuff. But here you go. Here's another example of that leverage and how light the front end is. And look at that. All that dirt coming out of there. It's like old rusty dirt from me banging on it and slamming it around. It's stuff that's just accumulated. And I got to tell you, compressors, they're just nasty like this. I will say they're not pleasant to use, and I don't know what the longevity is on a cook chamber like this. I think it'll be fine, but it's just ick. Yeah, cleaning those things out with a grinder and shit like that just really sucks. So that's what I was working with. On this, I had every ambition to remove that large, I don't even know what you call it, like a hex bushing or something. Yeah, I'm telling the camera, like, I think I'm just going to leave that in place. It was completely seized, and I had a huge pair of channel locks on there and couldn't get it to budge. So I just said screw it and drilled out the holes. So now basically there's a permanent drain. And while it was up, it was perfect opportunity to weld out the bottom of the cook chamber, which that part usually is kind of tricky. So it's kind of nice how that worked out. And now back down to flat. It's getting a little heavy, so not doing that anymore. But now it's time to build the collector. And this time I did it different. Normally I build these things kind of like in situ, kind of on the cooker, as opposed to building the assembly first and then attaching it to the cooker. And I'll say I do like this method a lot better. It's just cleaner, kind of, you can move it around and get all good, let's say, access to all the weld joints that you want. And leaves a lot less acrobatics going on trying to weld overhead and stuff while doing it on the cooker. So anybody that's building one, I'd recommend going this route. It's just the logical approach. So yeah. The other benefit of building this thing first and then attaching it is you just have one magnet or two magnets holding it in place, so you can get everything level and lined up, and that way you can have a nice plumb smokestack. But yeah, it's just better this way. And honestly, if I was trying to make this thing showroom quality and be extra, I don't know, clean and crisp, I would have ground on all those welds. But this is for some friends of mine, and they're cool people, and they're going to be fine with it as it is. Or they'll just talk shit, and it'll be something to argue about while we're having beers over at their place. And I think I'm fine with both scenarios in that whole bag of tricks. But enough rambling. Time to get this smokestack on. This is a 5-inch smokestack, and I've had this chunk of 5-inch tube or pipe for just years, and it was awesome that it worked out perfect for this size cooker, because I don't know what else I would use a 5-inch stack on necessarily. I usually use 6-inch pipe, so it was cool to get that done. Then a really generic damper cap handle. Again, functionality over beauty, but all good. And now it's time to get the door of the firebox on there. And for the handle, instead of doing that cool touch spring handle, I actually had a nice, really nice chunk of stainless steel. Solid. I think it's 304 or 316. And I decided to use that for the handle instead, because I had it and I thought it would look cool, and it was long enough to where I felt it would dissipate heat good enough as well while cooking. So, and it does. It works really well. But then I also installed the standard 3-inch gusset, and now this time I'm putting a little bit of a rain, I don't know if you call it like an awning, over the door. I like the look of it, and it helps kind of shed the water so you're not building up a bunch of water in your firebox. Not that I have issues with my other ones doing that, but I don't know, it felt like it was the right thing to do. Like, it was cool looking, and it was super easy and quick, so it's like, why not? You can kind of see inside the chamber while I'm welding on the cooking grate rails that it's, I mean, I already cleaned the heck out of the inside of there, and it's still kind of, I don't know, just gross looking, whatever. But I got to clean it up to where I can weld onto it. But either way, getting these cooking grates done. I did 2 pieces again, one for the smokestack side, so it can kind of fit back there with that kind of weird shapes, and then this the front piece, or the bigger piece, and those went really well. This did not. This is the door to the cook chamber, and you might be thinking to yourself, hey, what, wasn't there like a square door at the initial sneak peek or on the thumbnail? And yeah, there totally is, and that's because 1/8-inch thick, or new 1/8-inch thick air compressor tanks are thin wall. When they're rusty and shitty, they warp like crazy when you cut out the door and weld on flanges, and these gaps are just too much. I tried with a jack and chain and everything to kind of re-bend these, but there was a twist in it. And I basically just gave it the finger and said screw it. I've seen a dude on one of the Facebook groups that I'm on for, like, I think it's like custom smokers on Facebook or whatever it is, I can't remember, but he's done a bunch of these round body or barrel type cookers, and he puts the square doors on there. If I remember the guy's name, I'd give him a shout out, but I really don't. But I will say this was nice. You know, just I had these drop pieces from cutting out a circle a few years back, that just fit this radius pretty darn good. So I welded those to the body and then kind of put some flat bar on there to create the kind of flange portion or the ceiling portion, and then welded it all in. And basically this will be the, let's say the ceiling surface of the lid that I'm about to cut right now. And this is all 1/8 inch thick too. I had this sheet laying around. So I was able to cut out a couple of strips and just basically make a 90-degree open top lid. And you'll see there's still some serious gaps there between the lid and kind of the lid surface. And that's because the center portion of the cook chamber was pretty terribly bowed out. And I just said, screw it. I used gaskets on the door. It really was just a matter of, like, there was no way to get this thing perfect. Or at least I didn't have enough patience and skill to get it perfect. So I was like, screw it. But you guys just saw me weld on the handle. Nothing fancy there. And now this is the temperature gauge port. And I just drill a hole so that way the temperature probe can fit through there. And then I weld on one of these 1/2 inch weld OLEDs so I can get the tell true temperature gauge on there. And I like that style. It looks good. Then it affords me the ability to put on the silver bullet hinges that are the lid hinges. And then this thing's pretty darn close to being done. Then I got the lid backstop installed and all welded up. And then it was on to getting the expanded metal for the bottom section of the cooker. Always a great feeling getting this stuff installed. It just adds a level of completion to it. And actually this is the last step, just prior to cleaning it out. Here's the bathtub time. So just using the garden hose and a couple of t-shirts and just scrubbing the heck out of this thing. And I didn't show it on camera, but I did clear coat the frame and the expanded metal just to avoid rust, and that was a solid move. But what we got going on now is the first burn, a little bit of wet wood, but it was a nice solid burn, getting it in there, seasoned up, and now it's time to give it its first cook, which is going to be this brisket. I will say, in the package it looked alright. This thing was pretty mangled, and I find that out while doing a trim. And not to mention, I gave it a couple scallops myself. Not the best brisket trimmer in the world, but I do like cooking them, and it still cooked fine. I had a couple of crispy edges, but whatever. And this rub, yeah, it looks like it's Chud's SPG, but I used that all up. This is actually our Jay and Willie's beef rub, and it's good. It's got some herbal notes to it, and it turned out really good. But now I've got a bunch of oil on the outside, and I've seasoned the heck out of this thing. So I was like, yep, time to put some meat on there. Got a brisket and some cheddar links, which are always good. And this entire cook, I did it a little bit hotter. Not necessarily on purpose, but it's just where the cooker wanted to stay. And I think I had my splits a little bit large, where on this size cooker I could have definitely cut them down a little bit. But got the foil boat going for the brisket. And I'll tell you, that bark turned out fantastic. And it was kind of a pain in the ass to cut through. You'll see here, I don't have my slicing knives at home. They were at multiple places, like maybe the brewery or in Jay and Willie's tub. So I just used my standard chef's knife. It was a bit difficult to get through there. But yeah, look at that. The brisket turned out fantastic. Everything was rendered nice.
Oh,
Ridiculously juicy.
I'd say that's pretty good.
But the foil boat, what that really gets you is that crispy bark. Where if you could have heard that, it was just like cutting through there. And it takes a little bit to get through the bark. But once you're through, this make it look like the brisket's tough. It was not. Like, I mean, it damn near wants to fall apart. You just give it a nice tug and boop. Lovely, lovely food. As always, this was a fun build. I learned a ton. And these are just some clips of me trying to get a good thumbnail. But, yeah, at the end of the day, appreciate you guys watching. If you enjoyed this, go ahead and like and subscribe. And I'll keep making these videos. Thanks.